Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Side Hustle Central, where we talk about how to make extra money on the side besides your full time position and how to turn those side hustles into full time jobs. Today, I have a big announcement I'm going to make in my personal life. It's a change that was very recent and I'm super excited about it, but I'm just realizing now how big of a change it actually is. What I'm going to be talking about real quick today is the change of what my side hustle is going to be, and then also some ideas of side hustles that I was going to do this summer and decided against it. So, first off, let me actually talk about the side hustles that I was planning on doing this summer. One of them, the main one that I actually kind of set up and never really did anything with, was doing address painting for driveways. Now, I live in a small town outside of Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's a golfing town. It's very commonly like a golfing community. You see golf carts everywhere. They have also a local school, and as I was driving around, I go on walks around town, I go on runs around town, and as I was walking and driving, I noticed that their address paint, where you see on the curb, where they have their, like the address numbers of the home, and it's all painted in there, I noticed that they're super faded, and they also had logos from the local high school that were also on the driveways, but they were also faded. So I thought, and another guy in my church actually did this and just tested it out, and it worked for him. But I thought, why not do that for myself? And I'll set it up in the right way where I can schedule my own hours and have people set everything up. So here's exactly what I did with address painting. There was a few steps involved. The only thing I didn't do was actually like mail everything out and go forward with it. I kind of had everything set up on the side ready to take the next step for it. And then some other opportunities came up and I decided to go against doing that because this opportunity was better. So with the address painting, this is exactly how I set it up. In my local town, there's only like, I want to say 400 or 500 homes that actually have curbs and addresses on them. So first thing I did was, number one, I made sure it was legal in my town, which it is, obviously. There's a ton of houses that have their addresses and the school's logo painted on that. So the very first thing I did, made sure it was legal. Second thing I did, I wanted to get the logo for the local high school to be able to paint for these addresses to give more options and more different options for people to actually use. So I emailed the local high school and asked if I could have the copyright. I never heard anything back because it was only like 2 weeks and then I just decided to go against it. But it could have been one of three ways. Number one, they could have just given me the rights for it, written down and said, yeah, you can use our logo. It shows support, whatever. Number two, I was willing to split some of the profits from that logo. For example, like, hey, if I'm going to paint the logo for $20, I'll give you guys $10 out of every logo that I paint. It's a fundraiser for the school. I get to do the business. I get to make some money on the side. Kind of a win-win for everybody. The third option would have been they just say, no, don't use it, or we'll take you to claims court or something. So I emailed them about the logo first. Then I went on Fiverr.com, and I've used them before to make YouTube videos for myself and some other things. I went on Fiverr, and I found somebody who said, I'm willing to get local leads in your area, whatever. I paid this guy, I think it ended up being like $20 after the tip and after taxes and everything, $20. And I said, I want every home address in this city. So he didn't really get it right the first time. He got a bunch of addresses around there. I responded and said, hey, it needs to be in this city, in the city limits. Came back. There was like, the first time it was like exactly 100 homes or something like it. And it was half of them were in Lincoln and in random areas. The second time he had like 350 homes, and they were all in that town, which was great. So I had all the addresses I needed. Third thing I did was I went on Canva. Shout out to Canva. I use them all the time. So I went on Canva and I made a mailer brochure card, and essentially made a design super easy. It took me like an hour to make the whole thing. And I just said, hey, address painting here. Between this price and this price, it's like, I think it was between $15 and $40 or something like that. And then on the back, it shows like, on the front, it has a QR code on it too, which then the QR code goes to essentially a Google form with a calendar where they can schedule out their own slot. So I just put in, you can go on like Google Calendar and you can make an appointment calendar and then select what days you want to have open. So you can select the days that, like, I only want to work on Mondays, for example. I only want to work Mondays, open slots between 9 and 1 o'clock. So you can do that Google Calendar, and then they can see the available appointment times whenever they scan that QR code and say, I'm this person, I want these logos, I'm at this address, here's how you contact me, and I want it to happen Monday, the whatever, at 10:30. And they can put their own slot in there. So you already have the address in there and ready to go. And so you know like what your schedule is going to be for that day. All you have to do is drive around and go to those addresses at that position. I would have been lucky because it's such a small town. It would take maximum of 5 minutes to get from one house to another driving by a golf cart, which was my original plan. So if you're in a bigger city, I would recommend like trying to schedule all of the houses in the same area or going door to door and knocking. But so I had the addresses, and then I was going to print out all these mailing brochures, and then I was going to mail them out to all these addresses. And then all I would have had to do is buy the paint, buy the stuff. And then on the back of that card also, it showed the 3 options. My 3 options were, you can get your address painted, you can get a golf logo painted since it's such a big golfing community, and you can get the school's logo painted, or you can do all 3. So it was like $20 for one, and it didn't matter which one you got. It was like $20 for one. I think it was $35 for 2 or $40 for all 3. So it was like, it made sense just to do all 3 for the best pricing, because you get 3 for the price of 2 essentially. And to do that golf logo and the school's logo, I had emailed someone off of Etsy and messaged them who made painting stencils and said, hey, here's the pictures I want. Can you make stencils that are durable to be spray painted, like out of a rubber material or a thicker plastic material? And the guy's like, yeah, I'll do it. It would have cost, I want to say $40 or $50. And then essentially, if you do the entrepreneur math, you would do the math behind it. My estimating time is it would take about 5 minutes to paint each logo. So my appointment times from what I thought I would do is 20 minutes apart. And so I'd have, like, let's just say I start at 9 o'clock. It'd be 9 o'clock, 9:20, 9:40, 10 o'clock. And in that time, it takes about the same time to paint everything. The biggest part is like talking with the customer, getting the payment. That would have taken the most time. So let's just say on average, you're doing $30 an hour or $30 every appointment. And let's just say you're scheduled out for 4 hours. $30 an appointment every 20 minutes. That means you have 3 appointments an hour. That's $90 an hour for 4 hours. 4 hours, yeah. So that's $360 essentially for a morning or an afternoon. And then out of that, the cost would probably be $50 because you're talking about spray paint and the stencils and whatever. So potentially, if you had a full schedule and you did this all day, you could make anywhere between like $300 to $600 a day as long as you had this mailed out, which would be a great side hustle. And now the reason I decided to go against that is because I had other opportunities come up. And this opportunity, the reason I selected it is There's a lot more potential in the future. It works seamlessly with what I already do, meaning this right here, like me doing a podcast is also like it ties in perfect with my other side hustle. And it makes more money. Downright makes more money. I mean, so what I was doing before is I was selling on eBay, and eBay worked great, and I'll still use eBay. I'm just not actively like going shopping. If I go to Goodwill, it's like, yeah, I'll look at the stuff, and if it's good to sell on eBay, I'll do it. But mostly what I use it for is like I went to Goodwill, I bought golf clothes because I love golfing. And I bought a pair of golf pants. They were $8 at Goodwill. They did not fit me because I didn't try them on there. It was $8. It's whatever. Nice pair of Adidas golf pants. They cost me $8. They didn't fit me. So I just put them on eBay because I'm like, well, I'm not just going to give them away. Put them on eBay. I think I listed them for 20. They sold for 15 after fees and taxes. And then they paid for shipping. So obviously you get a couple extra bucks for shipping. I think I ended up, if minus that $8, I profited like $5 to $10. Like it's not much, but it's still not bad just for, I found these clothes for cheap. I tried them on, they didn't fit. I'm going to resell them. And that's what I've been doing with shoes too. I'm about to sell another pair of my shoes because it's like, I bought these for like 35. I could probably sell them for 45 or 50. They just don't fit me right. I'm going to resell them. And that's why I use eBay a lot is because I want to buy stuff and I want to try stuff out. Sometimes it doesn't always fit the best, or it doesn't work the best for me, or it's not the right thing. So instead of like going through the process of I want to return and you got to pay for shipping and all that crap, you just list it on eBay and you resell it there. And that's been a huge help. It's like, essentially I'm using it as like an online garage sale, make a couple extra bucks here and there, and it works well for me. So going into the side hustle that I do now, which I am very passionate about, and there's a huge future here. And I think this is going to be a long-term side hustle, and it'll make me way more. It's already made me way more than selling on eBay, because I just did my taxes, and I'm super transparent about how much I make and exactly what it'll profit me. So selling on eBay, once I factored in once I factored in the cost of the product, I went through all my receipts and everything, added those up. I factored in returns and stuff that I had to just throw away because they didn't work and I didn't test them correctly. And then I factored in mileage for driving to these locations to find the items. And I factored in my labor time, which I just said I'm going to pay myself minimum wage for however many hours, the estimated hour time it would take to go to these places and shop. I ended up, after all of that, profiting about $3,000 for the entire year. $3,000 for the year is rough. It's rough to say the least. That's about $250 a month, I believe. Yeah. So it's not a lot of money. And if you could say like an extra, it's like people who buy rental homes. Well, I'm making an extra $250 a month. Well, the effort and crap it took to get that $250 a month, is it really worth it? To me, I'm like, it was encouraging because I profited. I didn't think I made any profit, but there's also a little bit discouraging because I'm like, I did all that work last year for $3,000 for the entire year. So what I changed to, and this was just an opportunity that really came up this year. As a lot of you know, I run the social media accounts, and I run a podcast for my church, and then all the social media accounts for my church, and then also help with the media like videography, photography, do all that stuff. I don't really touch the website or the app. I mainly just do the media portion of that. So whenever we do a live stream, I'm up in the booth and I'm actively like trying to adjust the camera lighting and everything to make it look as best as I can. I don't actually like run the cameras there. But I do that. And then as a side hustle, they've allowed me to use the equipment for the church, just like I'm doing right here, where I am using the church equipment to do a podcast, because we just finished up with our other podcast, so I just use the same stuff. They're allowing me to use that stuff to do side projects. And one project came up with a nonprofit, and it was crazy because a guy at my church he's a booking agent for speakers, and he texted me and was like, hey, do you have availability to be a videographer tomorrow? Like, are you for hire? And I was like, I mean, kind of. I haven't really done any projects. And he goes, well, this guy needs a videographer tomorrow. And I was like, okay, maybe. Where's it at? And he's like, well, it's in Kansas City. Well, that's like a 3.5 hour drive for me. But we negotiated a price, and it was great money. I mean, just all I had to do was hook up to the audio, hook up to video. I had one active camera. I tried to GoPro, but the lighting was horrible in there. It was so dark. And so I had one camera at the back filming the entire thing. Then I had one camera that was active, where I was actively going and filming everything, and filming this guy wherever I was. And then I was gathering crowd audio, and I was gathering the mic audio, which was rough. Their sound equipment was super old, so it didn't really mesh very well with my equipment. But either way, it was good money compared to like selling on eBay. And then I also had another opportunity to do photography for an event. It took me about an hour to do. The agreement was I'm going to do photography, videography, get some clips from here, not really getting a ton of audio, but then I'm going to make you like 4 or 5 reels. Well, the agreement was like 2, but I ended up making 4, I believe. And then I also made a post with all the edited photos, and then sent all the photos off, sent all the video clips off. What I've found out essentially is doing photography, videography, and then video editing, I'm typically ranging about $75 to $100 per hour, depending on how fast I can get the project done. There was another project where, all in all, I think it probably only took me 8 hours to do, and I got paid a lot more than that. And so like some of those projects I get, and that was even like a cheap price that they quoted me, but it was good money for me. So some of those projects, it was like averaging like $150 an hour. Like there's some really good projects out there. And the equipment that the church has isn't the top quality. It's good stuff. It's not like the best cinematic, like it gets the job done. Like these mics are great. I probably wouldn't change them unless I used another mic and then got different ones. But like the lighting we have, okay, we could use a little bit better lighting. We could use a better studio. There's the camera, the Sony A7S III, which is a full frame cinematic camera, similar to the Sony A7 III. The A7S III is the full frame, so you just get better resolution, better lighting. And that's like with a nice lens on it, that might be $4,000 or $5,000. The cameras that we have are the Canon XA40s. It's a 4K camcorder. From what I found, they only record in 30 frames per second instead of the 60, which is great it's better for slow motion. So it's like some of the stuff that I was doing, and like you can't put lenses or anything on them. Filters don't really work on them. It's hard. They're great beginner cameras. They work for what we need. Like that's what I'm using right now in the studio to do this podcast. But they're obviously the more you pay, the better the quality of the gear that you have. So just like even with my fee right now, let's just say I work anywhere between $75 an hour to $150 an hour. That's kind of like my fee right now. The more expensive equipment I get and the better I get at editing and like storytelling, like storylining, putting the timeline together to make these stories happen, and the better I get at like posting on my own account and finding all the hacks and stuff, the more my price goes up. And I love doing this because it works seamlessly with what I'm already doing. It's something that I'm already doing and something that I can do in the long term, and I'd love to do like full time if that would make sense. Like have an entire studio, have a like rent out a warehouse, and hey, this is a photography studio. We have a photographer here on staff. This is the photography area. We have a videography studio, like a podcast studio, where we have the desk and the lighting's perfect and the audio's perfect and we can change the backdrop and we have everything that you would need. So if you want to record a podcast, you can come in and use that studio. If you have, if you need a videographer for a gig, whatever project over here, then we have videographers that go out and we do that. We have the best gear and we do advertisements for companies and we do commercials for companies. I would love to do stuff like that. So that's why I say it is a long-term futuristic type side hustle instead. And it works seamlessly. So when I'm editing church stuff, sometimes I have to wait for this church thing to load. Like, oh, I'll do a podcast, but then my computer's not the best right now. I need a new computer. It just takes a lot of time to process everything. So if this is processing over here, then I can go over here to this other project that I'm working on for my side hustle. And like, as I'm waiting for that to happen, I can go over here and work on this. And then, oh, that's loaded. And so I go back and I work on that, whatever. And then, oh, I'm going to edit a video for myself now. As that's loading, I'm going to go edit some photos for the church and schedule some posts out for the church. So it all just kind of interchanges perfectly because it's like I have some video clips on a memory card of church stuff and some video clips on that same memory card of my side hustle stuff. So I just put that one memory card in and then I can work on both of them. It works seamlessly. I've made way more money than in the same time frame than I did selling on eBay. And it is a futuristic thing that essentially has huge potential to turn into a full-time gig or turn into something bigger, essentially. And with that, it's like the higher I go, the higher the church goes, because I'm passionate about that, and I feel a duty and an obligation to build the church too, and build the church's media and improve on that. And obviously, like, I'm indebted to the church because obviously they let me use the gear because I'm doing this, like this opportunity that gave me, I was able to find this like passion that I found and use all the equipment that I have. And then really discover more and like learn along the way and get introduced to people that are also in this space. So it has been a huge blessing to be able to do this. And essentially now it's like, no matter how you look at it, I am a full-time photographer, videographer, and media manager. And it's awesome. So I'm really looking forward to the future on this. I'm looking forward to doing more podcasts and really telling you guys how it's going. And then as soon as I get a new camera, I'm going to show you all. As soon as I get a new laptop, I'm going to show you guys all the gear I use. If you didn't already see it, I have a reel that I just put out, and it's essentially the entire setup with all the gear that we use from the podcast. It's all the stuff that we personally use for the church's podcast or for my pastor's podcast. And so I show you everything that we have. Like we have Neewer lighting, the Canon XA40 cameras. We have some umbrella lights for the lighting in here. And then these Rode Pod mics. And then the Rode Pod Procaster. It's either a Procaster or the Rodecaster. Rodecaster Pro 2, that's what it is. And then we use vMix for live streaming and for recording it. So I show you guys all that stuff, and I'm trying to be as transparent as I can and then bring you along the journey with me as I discover more of this. Maybe if I ever do a video gig, like if I go do a videography for, let's just say, a band. There's a musician in our church that plays for other bands, like knows a lot of other bands, and he was like, "Man, we're always looking for those bands. Always need videographers and good ones." And so who knows? Maybe I'll do a late night gig for a band and wear my GoPro and just live stream on my GoPro of how I'm doing that. So future's looking bright. There's a lot coming ahead. I'm super excited. My personal goal this year is to hit 6 figures of profit. I mean, we're 2 months in. This is the 3rd month in, and I don't know how we're doing, but it's looking up. So I'm excited about it. This year's going to be great. And then I'm going to try to make my social media page into a phenomenal page and clean it up and make everything look great. So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for letting me rant to you about how excited I am about this change in my life. And yeah, hopefully soon we'll have some guests on and we'll get some things changed around and make everything cool. We'll keep showing you guys how to make money on the side and how to build it into a full-time income. And then hopefully someday I'll show you exactly how I did it and how you guys could do it too. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again.